Well, Trump and Netanyahu cannot achieve the aims that they had when they launched this war at the end of February. They can't achieve a regime change in which the United States and Israel run Iran. They should have asked some intelligent, knowledgeable people before they started this kind of insanity. No, they can't achieve those goals. Are they trapped? No, they just have to stop trying to achieve the unachievable. If they continue to try to achieve what they can't, they will continue to destroy the US economy, the world economy, and the physical infrastructure and life support systems of the Middle East itself. So Trump is not trapped. There's a way out. When you're digging, you're halfway in the hole, stop digging. That's the way out. Except that the whole basis of this war was wrong. The assumptions that Trump had and that Netanyahu sold to Trump when they met to decide on this war were false. They were demonstrably false even at that time, but they've been proven to be false. And so there is the way out, but it is a reality way out, not a delusion way out.
But Netanyahu is a maniac, and Trump listens to what Netanyahu tells him. So they're not going to change their minds. Only the force of events will push them out of this war of aggression.
Yeah, if you ask for a prediction, I think we're headed in a very bad and more dangerous way. One minute-to-minute barometer of that is the oil market. If you look at the international price of oil, right now it's at about $108 a barrel. That's up from roughly $60 a barrel when this started. And that is an assessment of billions of dollars at stake of where we're heading. That is not a measure that says, oh, they're just about to solve this problem. That is a measure that this is going in the wrong direction and that there is no high probability of some kind of resolution quickly on Trump's terms. So yes, I think that Netanyahu and Trump are both irrational from any objective standpoint. They both have a messianic streak. They both think that their will determines reality. They do have somewhat different objectives. Netanyahu's objective is to con the United States into endless wars on behalf of Israel. He's fundamentally a con man, and he has conned repeated presidents, and he's conned Trump, the biggest of all, because he, as Trump himself says, I'm the one that did this war. The other 7 presidents before me didn't. Well, yeah, that's because Trump was the one that was conned, and the others knew better. Don't go to war with Iran. So Netanyahu wants this war. He wants the United States to spend not the hundreds of billions of dollars that we'll spend, but trillions of dollars. For him, that's fine. It's our money, not his money. And for Trump, I'm afraid he was swindled because he doesn't seem to understand, he doesn't listen, and he's broken all of the processes of government. He wanted all the power. He wanted to be able to rule by decree, but he also wants to rule by hunch, by his gut instinct. He doesn't want processes. He doesn't read documents. He doesn't like intergovernmental deliberations. He doesn't want to hear from skeptics. They get fired right away. So this is what we have. We have a leader who wants one person rule. And he says, it's my gut instinct. And he says that's the art of the deal, after all. And he's the man that's bankrupted so many companies, and he's on his way to doing the same for the United States of America now.
He even said, when asked if he had to comply with international law, he said, no, my own mind, referencing again my gut instinct.
Yeah, and when you look at the feed in Truth Social,
you have a stronger stomach than I do if you can look at all that.
But it's, you could look at it just analytically. One after another is posting Jesus Christ with Trump, with his hands over Trump's shoulders. Every few reposts are about Trump as God's instrument. This is not what I would say a rational situation. This is not a situation where you feel that evidence is being weighed. Weighty decisions are being carefully considered. Deliberation is taking place. This is really a very irrational and very dangerous situation. I think a lot of people know that, but very few people are willing to say that.
Do Trump and Netanyahu recognize that they have lost this war? And by lost the war, I mean failed substantially and materially to achieve any of their military goals?
Again, from Netanyahu's point of view, the key always is keep the U.S. engaged in war. So from his point of view, this is just a perpetual effort to spend American money. And he's been very successful at it, probably $7 or $8 trillion of wasted American resources because of Netanyahu's con job. So from his point of view, nothing's lost. Killing people is his country's business, his government's business. They're doing it again in Lebanon today. He wants to break ceasefires. He doesn't care about any of the other consequences. His partners in this criminality are religious extremists, and his partners in the Christian Zionist world are religious extremists. People write to me thanking me, oh, thank you for your nice message, but Professor Sachs, these are the end times. So there are many people who view this as, well, fate or prophecy or con job or whatever you say, but not as winning and losing, but rather as the case for continuing. Trump doesn't have a process around him to inform him. He's not interested in that. He's basically dismantled that. Hegseth clearly is incapable of hearing alternative viewpoints, so he's firing generals and admirals and secretaries of the Navy and others every day. This is really the problem. I don't think that they know what they have gotten our country into. And I think that while there is this straightforward, rational way out, which is stop before you destroy everything, I don't think that one can say with any confidence that that rational approach is going to prevail here.
I'm going to play a clip which will aggravate you, but again, it's very telling of Defense Minister Israel Katz and his threats toward Iran. But before we do this, some breaking news from the New York Times. Israeli President Isaac Herzog has decided not to issue a pardon to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in his corruption case, and instead will seek mediation. What is mediation? It's some sort of a guilty plea. He can't stay in office if he pleads guilty to anything, can he?
I don't think Netanyahu is pleading guilty to anything. I think he will do everything possible to escalate wars, to keep wars going on, to continue to subvert Israeli democracy, such as it is. It doesn't really exist anyway because it's a genocidal state, I'm sorry to say.
Right.
But he will do what he can to subvert government processes so that he will never face even mediation. So I'm not holding my breath on this.
All right, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No. That's
right. Here is Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz showing his own disconnect with reality. Chris?
Israel is prepared for the renewal of war against Iran. The IDF is ready both defensively and offensively, and the targets have been marked. They are waiting for a green light from the United States first and foremost in order to complete the elimination of the Khamenei dynasty, the initiator of the annihilation plan against Israel, and the successors of the Iranian terror regime's leadership. In addition, the goal is to return Iran to the age of darkness and stone by blowing up the main energy and electricity facilities and crushing the national economic infrastructure. The terror regime in Iran specializes mainly in the internal suppression of the population through the Revolutionary Guards and the Basij, as well as in energy blackmail by threatening to inflame global oil prices. It is down for the count. Its leaders are hiding in tunnels and are struggling to communicate and make decisions. Its skies are wide open, and all its national infrastructure and strategic facilities are exposed to attacks. Yet it declares that it is winning, because just like Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza, it does not care about the heavy price paid by the population. The main thing is personal survival, which is not guaranteed either. When the attack resumes this time, it will be different and deadly and will deliver devastating blows to the most sensitive places. This will be in addition to the massive blows that the Iranian terror regime has already suffered so far, which will shake and collapse its very foundation.
A fascistic state. And the only language of Israel today is war, destruction, darkness, to turn enemies to destruction. Yes, it reads something like a 7th century BC Middle Eastern text, which is what they use for their references. So it's disgusting to listen to something like that. My advice to Israel is to shut up, go home to your own borders, stop making wars everywhere, and understand what peace is. So this is my advice. That advice will not be heeded, but my strong advice to Americans is if Israel's going to do something like it just described, we should advise against it, but we should stay completely clear of it. If Iran is going to fight, if Israel wants to take on Iran 10 times larger, if they want to do that, and we advise them strongly, don't do it, and they say it's none of your business, we perhaps can't stop it, although I would try through the United Nations Security Council and elsewhere to sanction Israel and to try to stop it. But what I would say as an America First president is you're not using our military, you're not using our planes, you're not using our intelligence, you're not using our money. If you want to do that and you have listened to us that that's unwise, you're on your own. In other words, we need to stop this idea that we backstop such a militaristic and fascistic approach. We need to say, we're America, we're not Israel. We advise Israel against this hatred that Israel exudes, the genocide that it has committed, the continuing killing every single day by Israel, often glorified in Israeli media and in Israeli political discourse. It's repulsive, but it's not our business anymore. We're done. 30 years, $7 trillion, wars across the region that we have fought for Israel is enough. Done. Finished. And when Katz talks this way, what is he really saying? He's saying, well, Trump is going to do it for us. He's not really saying we're going to fight Iran. But if that's what he means, let him do it. I would advise against it. I wouldn't relish it. But let Israel fight Iran, but keep us out. Our money, our military, our intelligence, let us stop our own self-destruction in all of this. And when the world economy is destroyed by Israeli aggression, we'll all know who caused the global disaster. It's unbelievable to hear Katz say, Iran's manipulation of the oil price. Well, the oil price was $60 a barrel before you, Mr. Katz, and your government conned the president of the United States into this disastrous war that has basically nearly doubled the price now. So that's your doing. That's nobody else's doing. And stop giving these speeches about what you, Israel, are going to do when what you mean is that you're going to make the United States do it. And Mr. President Trump, explain to us why you listen to this, or show us that you don't anymore. We don't want this. The American people are completely against this, overwhelmingly. What is it that has led you to do this? If it's a mistake, stop the mistake. If it's something else that makes you do this on behalf of this completely disastrous Israeli perpetual war effort, why don't you explain to us what is it that makes you keep doing this for Israel? We're sick of it. It's enough. 30 years. It's enough. All over the Middle East. It's enough. Stop. We don't want to do this. And we don't want to destroy the world economy in the next few days. If Mr. Katz has his way, and the man is disgusting in my view in what he's saying, or what he's saying is disgusting. I don't know him personally, but what he's saying is disgusting. You know, it won't take long to realize, oh my God, we have an irreversible global disaster on our hands, because it's not going to be months or years. It's going to be a few weeks of destruction of the oil fields, the gas fields, the port facilities, the pipelines, the desalination facilities throughout the Middle East. And you don't build that back for a generation. And you know what happens to the world economy? In the meantime, ask me. I wrote the first book about it, by the way, in 1985, about the oil shocks of the 1970s. Ask me. I'll tell you. Complete disaster for the world.
I'm going to jump to Iranian Foreign Minister Arachi with President Putin today and what you believe they were discussing. But before I do, apparently Netanyahu's lawyers were completely taken aback by President Herzog's refusal to issue the pardon, and they ran to the court and begged for an adjournment, which the court granted. Not sure what's going on, but it's not good for him, and his lawyers are giving every indication of being afraid to confront reality in the courtroom. What do you think Foreign Minister Arachi was discussing with President Putin today? Not Foreign Minister Lavrov, but President Putin himself.
Yes, exactly. And with the foreign minister. It is reported that Iran has put forward a sequence ending the war against Iran, which was a blatant war of aggression by Israel and the United States, and the current war by Israel in Lebanon, because Israel has invaded Lebanon during this same period, and it's killing people. It killed 14 and wounded 37 just in the most recent shelling, including 2 children and 2 women, according to the reports that I've just been reading. So the first phase is a way to end the wars and to make sure that they don't just reappear by Mr. Katz coming out and telling us, "Oh, we're going to blow them up and destroy their civilization again," the lines we've heard in recent weeks. The second phase would be to settle the protocols of the Strait of Hormuz, which Iran says that it and Oman would co-manage. And the third is that there would be a return to the issues of the nuclear policy, which we had settled with Iran with the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action until Netanyahu and Trump ripped it up in 2018. So it would be a 3-phased sequence. The point that Araghchi is making and that the Iranian government is making is that a settlement of these issues would be a comprehensive settlement, which would cover no reoccurrence of the war, the management of the Strait of Hormuz and the Gulf in general, and a return to the nuclear issue, which Iran has said for a quarter century it doesn't want a nuclear weapon. And the United States and Israel have not taken yes for an answer because they're interested in overthrowing the regime rather than in a negotiated settlement. Or at least I would say that's Israel's view, which is it doesn't want diplomacy, it wants an overthrow. And it has conned and finagled and for other ways pressured the United States into joining with Israel in this disaster. Again, let's just remember with Donald Trump, he has said that he's doing what the other presidents wouldn't do. That, sad to say, is true. Trump was conned the most. The other presidents were not.
What role would the Russians play in helping to resolve this? I mean, I understand Foreign Minister Arachi's offer and its reasonableness, but why to President Putin and Foreign Minister Lavrov?
Well, first of all, Russia is one of the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council. Russia is an ally with Iran. Russia, together with Iran, are part of the BRICS. In any event, we are not in a bilateral or even a trilateral situation of Israel, the United States, and Iran. Iran is not going to be able to reach an agreement that is safe and that doesn't just lead to a renewal by the U.S. and Israel of fighting unless it is framed in a multilateral way. That includes the other major powers, especially China and Russia as permanent members of the UN Security Council. It includes the Gulf countries, the so-called Gulf Cooperation Council countries, or the GCC. all of this is feasible. It's just based on a completely different approach from Mr. Netanyahu and Mr. Katz and Mr. Trump. It's based on actually having a capacity to sit and negotiate and reach agreements rather than to threaten and to bomb. And the United States has gone along with Israel's approach, which is basically whenever you get the other side to negotiate, whether it is Hamas or Hezbollah or Iran, you kill the other negotiators. That's become a standard practice, literally, of Israel and the United States, not only to break negotiations, but literally to kill the counterpart negotiators, to bomb them, to set booby traps for them, to assassinate them, because Israel is interested in its military dominance in the region. It is not interested in a diplomatic solution.
I mean, do you think Israel will ever voluntarily recognize a Palestinian state?
Of course not. But Israel doesn't have the choice. It is a matter of international law that the Palestinians have the right of political self-determination. It is a matter of international law that Israel's occupation of Gaza, the West Bank, and East Jerusalem are illegal. It is a matter of international law that the vast majority of countries support a state of Palestine along the borders of the 4th of June, 1967, as the 194th UN member state, and that has been blocked by one and only one country. And I'm not speaking of Israel, which has no veto on that. I'm speaking of the United States, which does have a veto, and it has used it to prevent the solution that would lead to peace. And this is the most basic story of all. What we have is an Israeli regime that is rabidly expansionist. They call it Greater Israel. We heard from our own U.S. ambassador to Israel, Huckabee, who's a fundamentalist Christian Zionist, that Israel basically has the right to all the land from the Nile to the Euphrates. This is literally what our ambassador to Israel said. And this is a very small minority view, but it is the view of the government of Israel and of powerful people in the U.S. administration. And it's a disaster. So we have been the ones that have blocked the state of Palestine. State of Palestine wouldn't have come into existence on known borders, but for the U.S. veto. So Israel can't stop that from happening. They will never accept it as a matter of politics, because Netanyahu's party, the Likud party, in its founding charter in 1977 already states that all the land from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea will be sovereign Israel. It already states that. That's a fundamental tenet. Now Netanyahu is joined by two even more extremists who happen to be religious zealot extremists. One of them leads a party called Jewish Power, when translated from Hebrew. And the view is they own everything. That's their view. It's illegal. It's wrong. It's the reason for the continued wars across the region. It can be stopped by the United Nations Security Council. If the United States ends its veto, then Israel will have to live with a state of Palestine next door. And lo and behold, they will discover over time the painful way that Palestinians are human beings that want peace and that just want to live and raise their children, and they don't want to be exterminated or ethnically cleansed or live in servile conditions in an apartheid Israel. But Israel would discover that it could actually live alongside Palestine. But right now, the mindset of Israel is, why should we? We own it all. The United States is going to do everything for us. They're going to fight all our wars, even fighting with Iran, because that's what the United States has done for 30 years, $7 trillion later. It's enough. This is the basic point. We need to learn that we are the United States of America. We are not Israel.